many other...
This is right, Arab.
Hello and welcome to WION Live Broadcast from Washington, D.C. I'm Simon Marks, and in this bulletin we will get you updates on stories developing all over the world. As the United States continues its withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, the Taliban has started unleashing violence and terror. The militant group has only been emboldened by the US troop withdrawal. It has made military gains in northern Afghanistan and has even now captured the country's main border crossing with Tajikistan. With tensions escalating, the Pentagon says the pace of the troop withdrawal could be adjusted based on conditions in Afghanistan. What does that mean? We'll find out. But first, let's take a look at all the headlines. Covaxin, the COVID-19 vaccine manufactured by Bharat Biotech, shows 77.8% efficacy in Phase 3 trials. Reports say the Drugs Controller General of India has approved Phase 3 trial data for the vaccine. A day ahead of a crucial Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting in Dushanbe, the Taliban claims to have captured Afghanistan's main border crossing with Tajikistan. As the Philippines battles one of Asia's worst COVID-19 outbreaks, President Rodrigo Duterte threatens to jail people if they refuse to be vaccinated. This after reports of low turnout at several vaccination centres. Australia strongly opposes a China-chaired UNESCO committee plan to list the Great Barrier Reef as endangered. The UN body recently recommended that the reef's World Heritage status should be downgraded.
We think that we have a very strong legal case that the duties that have been put in place, anywhere between 116 to 218%, are causing harm and injury and are unwarranted.
Australian Trade Minister Dan Tehan speaks to WION on the country's trade war with China, calling the duties imposed by China on Australian wines unwarranted. Australia says it may take the matter to the WTO. In a big blow to Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, Nepal's Supreme Court has rejected the recent expansion of the Council of Ministers. All 21 ministers have now been relieved of their duties. Amid escalating violence and the Taliban seeking a return to power in the region, the Pentagon has now said that the pace of the US military withdrawal could be adjusted based on conditions. However, President Biden's deadline of a complete withdrawal by September will continue to remain in place. During a press briefing here in Washington on Monday, Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said that the US is keeping a close eye on recent military gains made by Taliban insurgents as American troops pull out from the region. Kirby, however, stressed the fact that recent gains by the Taliban would not alter the timetable for the troop withdrawal. However, the pace, he said, will be adjusted based on the current political environment.
We've said from the very beginning, while there is a schedule, we were mindful that that schedule could fluctuate and change as conditions change too. So I can't speak to any specific recommendations he's making about the Taliban advances, but I can tell you that he's looking at the situation every day with a fresh set of eyes to see if the pace that we're setting is the appropriate pace for the kinds of capabilities that we think we need to again conduct a safe and orderly retrograde.
Those comments came as Taliban militants took control of a key district in Afghanistan's northern Kunduz province and encircled the provincial capital on Monday. A Taliban spokesman confirmed the Imam Sahib district was in Taliban hands. Several other districts in Kunduz have also fallen to the insurgent group in the latest round of fighting. According to witnesses, the Doshi district in Baghlan province was also in Taliban hands. This gives the Taliban control of the one road that links 5 northern provinces to Kabul. The latest has been the capture of Afghanistan's main border crossing with Tajikistan. It comes as the Taliban continues to regain power in the volatile region. Dozens of districts have fallen to the group since May the 1st, when US and NATO troops began their final departure from Afghanistan. As military offensives continue between Afghan forces and the Taliban, several districts are also getting recaptured by the military. Security forces have now regained control over the Balkh district of Balkh province in the north of the country. The district is now under Afghan military control as clearing operations continue. But despite Afghan forces retaking some key districts from the insurgent group, the situation in the northern provinces continues to remain strained. According to reports, people in various provinces, including Taka, Balkh and Baghlan in the north, have taken up arms to fight the Taliban militants. On the 8th of May, in an incident condemned all over the world, a bomb blast ripped through a school in Kabul. Almost 80 people were killed, most of them were girls attending classes. More than a month later, the survivors are back inside the school compound, not for classes, but for psychotherapy sessions. Will those be enough to overcome the trauma of what happened that day? And will these girls ever feel safe again inside a classroom?
These girls have been to hell and back. What was supposed to be another day at school turned into a nightmare. Fatima Noor and her friends had just finished their classes. Once in the corridor, they heard the explosion. A bomb attack that killed 80 people and wounded twice as many. More than a month later, the school is still closed, but the students are trying to pick up the pieces. To help them recover, the government is holding psychotherapy classes. The sessions are not compulsory, but those attending are already feeling better.
When I first came here, I couldn't walk or talk very well. It was difficult for me to walk, but after some days, I finally felt better and could walk. And also, I was able to speak easily.
It wasn't easy for Fatima to return here. She fainted at the school gate, scared of a repeat of that horrible incident. But the sessions have helped. Slowly but surely, she has moved on from the incident.
Our primary purpose for these girls is to understand their suffering and situation. We want to create empathy so that they feel understood and supported through psychotherapy. In fact, we want them to get through this mourning and not get stuck in it.
Most of the blast victims that day were girls attending school. This was no coincidence. The school runs 3 shifts, out of which the second one is attended by girls. Militants likely targeted this shift. Educating girls has long been a controversy in Afghanistan. During the Taliban's rule, girls were blocked from attending schools. Today, things are a lot better. Girls' education is touted as the Western coalition's biggest achievement in Afghanistan. But with the American withdrawal on the horizon, militants have become emboldened again. This particular school district has been targeted multiple times. Even after staring death in the face, these girls have not lost hope. Fatima herself cannot wait to get back to class.
I'm not afraid of coming back to school, even if there might be another explosion. I want to come back to school even more strongly than before and continue my studies. I want to continue the path of those who were martyred. I miss our class and my classmates very much and think that the school must reopen as soon as possible. I can't wait to see my classmates again and continue my studies.
As Afghanistan stares at a tumultuous future, possibly one of violence and instability, it can find solace in the next generation. In students like Fatima Nouri and their resolve to keep marching. South Asia Bureau, WION, World is One.
Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam has lambasted the United States over its response on the arrest of Apple Daily's board of directors. Defending the action taken by the authorities, Carrie Lam denied the US accusations.
So don't try to underplay the significance of breaching the national security law, and don't try to beautify these acts of endangering national security, and don't try to accuse the Hong Kong authorities for using the national security law as a tool to suppress the media or to stifle the freedom of expression.
She was responding to State Department spokesman Ned Price, who condemned the arrest of 5 executives working at Apple Daily. He claimed that the raids were selective and politically motivated. Carrie Lam's comments come as trouble continues to mount for Hong Kong's Apple Daily newspaper. According to reports, the pro-democracy publication will be forced to shut down in the coming days due to a funding crunch. The report quoted an advisor to Apple Daily's founder, Jimmy Lai. The shortage of funds comes as the newspaper's editor and its chief executive were denied bail. They have been charged with collusion with a foreign country. Police said the arrests were based on more than 30 articles that had appeared in Apple Daily since a new controversial national security law took effect. At least 500 police raided the Daily's offices last week. Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya is hailing the latest sanctions levelled against President Alexander Lukashenko. She said that the West has sent a powerful signal to the regime in Belarus.
Possible that nothing will change after these sanctions, because for sure erection of a regime will be positive or negative, nobody knows, but of course we understand that it's a very huge hit on the regime, and they have to understand that there is no other way out on the dialogue with civil society.
The European Union extended sanctions against Belarus by imposing travel bans and asset freezes on 86 Belarusian individuals and companies. The bloc has prepared a series of economic measures aimed at hitting President Alexander Lukashenko following last month's forced landing of a Ryanair passenger plane to arrest a dissident journalist, Roman Protasevich. The EU had already banned Belarusian airlines from flying over the bloc's territory or using its airports.
Today, for this meeting in Luxembourg, first thing is to talk about Belarus. We are going to first have a meeting with the Belarusian leader, Ms. Tikhanovskaya. He will explain the situation in the country. There will be a debate, and then we will approve the package of new sanctions, which is a wider package. I think it's about 86 people or entities, not only people but also entities. And then we will also discuss about the economic sanctions, which will be presented to the European Council.
Diplomats said the measures were coordinated with similar sanctions by other Western countries, including Britain and the United States. The EU has gradually increased sanctions since Lukashenko won a 6th term last year in elections the EU says were rigged. The The measures have targeted people accused of electoral misconduct and responsibility for the police crackdown that followed. The United States, too, imposed sanctions on 16 individuals and 5 entities, including the State Security Committee and the press secretary of the Belarusian president. The list of sanctioned individuals also includes the Belarusian Prosecutor General, the chairman of the KGB, and the chairperson of the upper house of the country's parliament. Britain, too, announced it had joined the EU, US and Canada in imposing fresh sanctions on Belarus. It imposed travel bans and asset freezes against senior-ranking officials in Lukashenko's regime. Britain said its sanctions were imposed separately from those of the European Union. The ongoing political crisis in Belarus will now make its way to the big screen. A Russian-Estonian movie called Minsk portrays the brutal crackdown on protesters launched by the Belarusian government in August of last year. The movie will be released on the first anniversary of those brutal events. WION's broadcast partner, Voice of America, has this report.
Minsk, Belarus. The evening of August 9th, 2020. Massive unrest erupted in the capital as people took to the streets to protest what they believed to be fraudulent presidential election results. What happened next shattered lives and is the focus of a new film by Russian director Boris Guts.
I was following what was going on through Telegram, and I was on the one hand deeply touched and on the other hand horrified. But I immediately realized what people were filming was perfect to document these events and tell the story of peaceful people whose life is turning upside down.
Authorities rounded up and arrested protesters, many of whom alleged they were tortured. It took Guts 6 weeks to write a movie script about that period, but filming was delayed by financial constraints. That's when Belarusian political analyst Vitaly Shklarov offered to help. Shklarov confessed he couldn't read the script in one sitting, as it dredged up painful memories. He had spent 3 months in a Belarusian detention facility in the summer of 2020, having been arrested before the elections as an opposition member. US and European diplomats eventually helped secure his release.
This film is my way to say thank you to all those people who helped me. And I pray that they keep helping others, like I plan on doing.
Shklarov described to Guts in detail what happened behind closed doors at Belarusian government facilities and how political detainees were treated. Guts, who lives in making this film, was never in doubt.
When it happened in August 2020 in Minsk and other cities in Belarus, I didn't hesitate. I just couldn't keep silent. I couldn't not make a film.
The movie, that's 90 minutes long, was filmed in a single shot in Tallinn, Estonia. Part of the shooting process was sponsored by the Estonian Film Institute.
We received financial help, access to shooting locations, and full support from the Estonian authorities. We had difficult scenes with police officers, the military, blocked roads.
Most of the actors are Russian, but Estonian and Belarusian actors also took part. Guts says a number of Belarusian actors refused to get paid, saying it was personally important to them to take part in the project, but asked not to have their names listed in the credits. For Irina Salomka, NRI's VOA News.
Now to the ongoing tensions between Australia and China, and the focus of the spat between the two countries has shifted to the Great Barrier Reef. Australia has hit back at the China-chaired UNESCO committee, which is seeking to list the country's Great Barrier Reef as a heritage site in danger. Without mincing any words, the Australian government called the China-chaired committee's move politically motivated. It added that only a week ago, Australia was told that the Barrier Reef will not be listed as an endangered site. It said that recently UNESCO had praised Australia's work on the Great Barrier Reef, which included $3 billion in funding under the 2050 Reef Plan. Australia has vowed to challenge the move, which it says is not based on scientific data. The UNESCO meeting will take place on July the 16th.
This is a complete subversion of normal process. The Foreign Minister and I had a late-night meeting with the Director General of UNESCO last night, and we made very clear our strong disappointment, even our bewilderment, that our officials have been blindsided in the way that they have. Only a week ago, we were reassured that this was not going to occur. The reef is an icon internationally, and we are here to fight for the reef, and we are here to challenge the decision when it comes up for final consideration in the World Heritage Committee in about the third week of July. This decision was made, as I said, without due process. It was made on the basis of a desktop review. It hasn't even used the latest data.
But UNESCO had said that the reef's condition deteriorated. The United Nations body said that mass bleaching showed that there had been insufficient progress in meeting the reef's 2050 targets. The Great Barrier Reef, which is the world's largest coral reef system, was listed as a heritage site in 1981. A downgrade would hit Australia's tourism revenue. The Barrier Reef is among the country's most popular tourist sites. Before COVID-19 induced lockdowns, the reef generated $6.4 billion worth of revenue for Australia every year. The issue is likely to further escalate tensions between Canberra and Beijing. The two are already engaged in a trade row. Relations between China and Australia began deteriorating when Australia demanded a probe into the origins of the coronavirus. Politics aside, some experts have said that the UNESCO decision was not surprising because the Barrier Reef has suffered immense bleaching over recent decades.
Our Great Barrier Reef has experienced 3 mass bleaching events in the last 5 years that have killed more than half of the corals on the reef. And we've had umpteen warnings from global bodies, from Australian scientists about the reality, which is that there is no future for the reef if we cannot rapidly reduce our emissions and end the production and burning of coal, oil and gas. So it should come as no surprise at all.
Now to the intersection of sport and culture. The Union of European Football Association, UEFA, has rejected plans by Munich to light the arena in rainbow colours for the Germany-Hungary Euro 2020 match. Munich had planned to light up the Allianz Arena in rainbow colours in support of the LGBT community and to protest against a law passed by the Hungarian government. In a statement, UEFA said that it is a politically and religiously neutral organisation, and given the political context of the request, UEFA must decline it. While UEFA has rejected the request for the day of the match, it suggested alternative dates for June the 28th or from July the 3rd to July the 9th. In retaliation, the mayor of Munich has now decided to deck the entire city in rainbow colours. Germany's LGBT community condemned UEFA for its stance. The French European Affairs Minister called UEFA's decision shameful.
I regret this decision because I think it would have been a very strong symbol. UEFA is arguing about internal rules that I can understand, not about a political message. But I think that we are beyond a political message. It is a message of deep values. It is not a partisan issue.
The Hungarian foreign minister called Munich's plan to light the stadium up in rainbow colours harmful and dangerous. Last week, Hungary's right-wing government passed a law banning the promotion of homosexuality to minors. It even outlawed educational programmes mentioning homosexuality.
157 igen, 1 nem, szavazattal tartózkodás nélkül elfogadott.
And that's all we've got for you on WION's live broadcast from Washington, D.C. today. Stay with us for all your news updates here on WION World is One. I'm going to leave you with these visuals from Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin laid a wreath and honoured the fallen soldiers of World War II. Putin led the memorial ceremony marking the 80th anniversary of the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union. He was joined by Russian war veterans.
Today is a difficult, tragic date. The Great Patriotic War began 80 years ago. This day, the 22nd of June, there is still indignation and sorrow in the hearts of all generations. It is painful due to the broken destinies of millions of people. Because of these challenges, those terrible years are literally imprinted in our memory.
This is right, Arab.
One World Trade Center, that is the one where the impact.
The cause of India's freedom for many years.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.
America is a constant